Welcome back everyone to another episode of Eat Sleep Drive, and this time it's the 2021 Kia K5 GT. So this is the 2.5 liter turbocharged version. We're gonna walk around this car, we're gonna look inside, look outside, we're gonna take it for a drive, and then I'm gonna share my thoughts on what I like and don't like about the K5 GT. How do you guys like the look of this car? Overall, I would say it's a pretty attractive looking car, although I don't really like this squinty bit in the front. I do like what they did with the radar cruise control and kind of hid that down below and didn't put it hugely up top in front of the grille like a lot of manufacturers do. I'm a huge fan of these lights as well. It's probably my favorite part about the car. These are the turn signal portion of the headlights and they light up orange. 19-inch wheels on the GT model. The regular model comes with 18s, I believe. Massive sunroof here, and this is the sapphire blue color. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Pretty run-of-the-mill blue as far as I'm concerned. It definitely gets a little lighter when it's a lot more bright outside. Back end looks really good. Actually looks kind of Audi-esque to me in the whole back end, and actually side profile even. The way the roof swoops, it kind of reminds me of the A5 in the Audi lineup. Diffuser in the back, quad tip exhaust on the GT. Let's take a look in the trunk. 16 cubic feet of space in the trunk. Here's a look at the 2.5 liter turbocharged engine. The base model gets a 1.6 liter, but this is the 2.5 liter and it's front wheel drive only in the GT model, which is interesting. And we're gonna talk about that in a bit on the drive. Stepping in the K5, it's a really nice looking interior. Overall, I really like the shape and designs that we have going on here, including the speakers. This has a Bose sound system, and it sounds really good, although it is quite bassy. I had to turn down the bass. It was vibrating the whole car. And speaking of vibrating the car,
all right, let's go.
Keep in mind, you know, the build quality is okay. I would say it's not quite as good as stuff like a Honda or a Toyota, but when you consider all the features that you get for the price, it seems acceptable to me. Speaking of features, for 34 grand, this is the most expensive K5 you can get, and it comes with everything you can imagine. Heated and cooled seats, radar cruise control, lane centering, this huge panoramic sunroof, the Bose sound system. It's got everything. So this car is all about value. Oh, and I really like these seats. They're pretty wide, so you can fit a wide range of people. Not too bolstered or anything like that, but being that it's a GT, they do have some bolstering to them. Some of the things that I'm not a super big fan of in here include this piano gloss black plastic here on the center console area and then on the door card as well. It's not too bad, but it's gonna show a lot of scratches and get smudged up and look bad eventually. It looks nice now. And then you have this lever shifter, which I'm a big fan of lever shifters, and give me this over the button shifters any day. But the design of this is kind of weird to me. It looks like something out of a cheap arcade game or something like that. I think that's kind of weird. But otherwise, everything else is really, really nice. I like the gauges. Nothing crazy to write home about with these gauges, but that doesn't bother me at all. Analog gauges, not digital like you see in a lot of cars these days. The steering wheel, I'm a big fan of. Nice thickness, leather wrapped, feels nice, feels like it'll probably hold up pretty well. You of course have all your buttons here for lane centering and radar cruise control, and then you can control your infotainment system here. And while we're on the topic of infotainment, this is a nice unit. I like that you have on the sides things that you would use as sort of like a menu. It's a little bit slow to respond, but not horrible. Cool design, like these little old school light bulb things for the numbers. Maps work good. It has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, everything you would need. But most importantly, of course, what is the K5 like to drive? K5 GT. So this is a bit of a tale of two different cars here. We have the regular K5, which is this car is based on, and then this is, of course, the GT model with the 2.5 liter turbocharged engine. I'm gonna demonstrate why this is a weird car. So that was foot to the floor. You heard it chirp the tires like crazy, and then we rocketed away. This car is genuinely quick, bordering on fast. It's very, very quick, but it's only once you're going. So what you saw back there is in the beginning, when I was turning, like when you're turning or going low speed and you mash the throttle, this thing just spins a front tire because this is front wheel drive. And it really has a hard time putting all this power to the ground. This has almost 300 horsepower, a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. That's a pretty big displacement 4-cylinder engine. Most 4-cylinders are like 1.6, 1.8, 2 liter. You really don't hear many above 2 liter. And this is understeer. I don't know if you can see it, but the traction control light is freaking out. It just overpowers these front tires. So it's really weird because I don't understand why they didn't offer an all-wheel drive version of this car, because it's got so much power. And not only did they not give it an all-wheel drive version, but they didn't put a limited slip differential to help out these front tires. People give me looks driving this thing because sometimes I'll just, hit the gas to try and get somewhere. And if I'm at low speed, it's just chirping the tires and making me look like a fool. So I am always about the performance version of any car. Yes, give me more horsepower, give me more torque. But if you can't put the power to the ground, what's the point? So it's a bit odd they didn't offer the all-wheel drive version or give you a limited slip here. And that's a bit of a shortcoming because once this car is moving, like I'll demonstrate up here, this thing, like from a roll, is properly fast. All right, we'll start from 30 here. Yeah, it moves. I'm super surprised at how quick this car is. Didn't really expect it, and it's every bit of 300 horsepower. Now let me use the paddle shifters here to mess with the transmission. 8-speed gearbox. This has a wet dual clutch transmission. I almost said Toyota. Kia. Oh boy, it just tries to rip the wheel out of your hand. Kia has done a point to mention that this is a wet dual clutch transmission, which is different than, of course, some dry dual clutch transmissions. They're very proud of it. And in fairness, it is a very good transmission. It does a good job of basically doing that dual personality type thing where you need something that can be smooth at low speed, but it is quick to shift because, this is the GT model, so it needs to be kind of sporty. When it comes to the ride, it's a little bit on the firmer side. Not a ton of body roll, a little bit of body roll, but not much at all. It's definitely, they try and make it feel sporty. The handling is okay, but that ride, going back to that, it's definitely on the firmer side of what I would consider acceptable for a just daily driven sedan. And they're trying to make it feel, I think, sportier than this car is. Once again, it's sort of some wasted performance to a certain extent with this car just because you can't put the power down. But when it comes to the suspension, it's not crashy, but they picked a spring and dampers that were on the firmer side. But as we go over this stuff, it can be a little bit jarring. So to me, I would soften up the suspension a little bit or just get the non-GT line model. Stay in your lane, sir. So plenty of passing power, as you can see. The steering is very light. I'm not even going to talk about steering feel because I don't think anyone buying this car really cares about steering feel. Steering feel just doesn't exist in most modern cars with electric power steering, but it's very light. It's a bit darty. It has a decent amount of quickness to the steering rack, which gives it a sportier feel, but is a bit darty. You saw me back there when I was going through that roundabout deal with a ton of understeer. Decently balanced car, but by no means is this like your super sports sedan. It's quick with this engine, but it doesn't really put the power down, as I mentioned, and I feel like I'm underselling this car because this car actually is really amazing. A regular K5, I think, is a fantastic product because there is so much value here. Even though I'm not in love with how this car just overpowers the front tires, I think what we're getting to is you can buy this car for around 25 grand with the GT Line package. And the GT Line package is basically one where they give you a lot of features, but you stick with the base 1.6 liter turbocharged engine. This has the 2.5, but you can't put the power down anyways, so why do you need the 2.5? So get the 1.6. It's offered in front wheel drive or all wheel drive. I'm sure front wheel drive is totally fine in that engine when it doesn't put out too much power. And save yourself about 10 grand. So for 25 grand, you get a really nice car as far as materials for the price. It just feels nice to drive. It feels way above what you're paying for with this thing. And it's got a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. So it's honestly a knockout. The base K5, I think, is the way to go, or at least with the base engine. And you know what's interesting about that car is that you can get it with a all-wheel drive system, something that you can't option in this GT line, which seems kind of strange to me. The car that has the most horsepower, you cannot get all-wheel drive in. And in fact, if they would just make this car optional or standard with all-wheel drive, it would fix a lot of my complaints, because as you can tell, a lot of my complaints with this thing are just from the fact that it just constantly spins tires. So give it an all-wheel drive option, or just buy the cheaper version, because I think that's going to make most people that are interested in this car happy. The only other exception I'll make is that if you're someone who drives on the highway a lot, I would say, and you know, you expect a certain amount of passing power or certain power in general to be available to you, then you could look at the GT line with the 2.5 liter engine. Sorry, not the GT line, the GT. Is this confusing at all? Yeah, it is to me too. I don't understand their naming conventions, but the GT line is the lower tier sporty and the GT is the upper tier sporty that has the 2.5 liter. So anyway, regardless of what the names are, get that 1.6 liter engine and you'll be super happy with this car. It comes loaded with so many features. Radar cruise control works absolutely great. I use it all the time in LA traffic. It has lane keep assist or lane centering, which I'm not a huge fan of. It just kind of pogos around, and especially in turns, it's very disconcerting if you're on the highway and you have that on and it's just kind of like constantly correcting. Not a big fan of that. But it has collision warning. It has remote start. Like, they're heated and cooled seats. There's so many things that most of those come standard in this car. It's unbelievable for the money, and can't necessarily say I recommend the GT, but if you can get a regular K5 and you know, use it for what you're going to use it for, probably a daily driver, I think you'll be really happy. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and this little drive around a crowded LA. We found not too much traffic, so it wasn't horrible. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Eat Sleep Drive TV on Instagram. Let me know what you think of the K5 in the comments below, and the K5 GT. I will see you guys on the next episode. See ya.